Love them, which many of us do, or loathe them, and they do have their detractors, or just knowing a few of their tracks. Bon Jovi has defined several generations of music, from their heady heydays in the 80s, to the rebranding of the 90s, to finding a third wind in the noughties and then on to their later years. It's hard to deny the impact that Bon Jovi have had on the charts. In a career spanning 40 years, their songs have made their way into the hearts and memories of millions of fans. But before we get too further in this video, here's the request: like, subscribe and comment. Yes, it's the catch cry of just about every channel here on YouTube, but it helps me to know that you're out there and joining me on this crazy little ride. Bon Jovi have been hugely prolific in their songwriting, so much so that their B-sides and non-album tracks compiled together culminate in many, many more hours of music from all eras of the band. Add to that solo albums, acting credits, musical theatre credits, and even philanthropic endeavours. The band and the members thereof have crafted a legacy that cannot be underestimated or ignored. So let's get into today's episode of Should Have Been on the Album. So much to say and so little time. Hold on to your hats and tattered jeans. I'm going to go quick for this bio. Jon Bon Jovi began playing music at the age of 13 with his first band, Rays. He met David Bryan, who would later become the keyboard player for the band, when he was 16, and gigged in various clubs opening for local acts. In 1980, he recorded a version of Runaway with a group of studio musicians and was able to get a little local radio play. In 1982, Jon Bon Jovi began working at Power Station Studios, where his cousin, Tony Bon Jovi, was co-owner. He'd demo a variety of tracks, sending them to record companies, but with no luck. Yet in 1983, he was convinced to submit a re-recorded version of Runaway as part of an album of local talent. It hit the airwaves and became a small hit. Soon after, Jon formed the band, with guitarist Richie Sambora, keyboardist David Bryan, drummer Tico Torres, and bassist Alec John Such. They caught the attention of Mercury Records, signed with them, and released their first album, which included Runaway, which peaked at number 40 on the charts. After touring, Bon Jovi followed up with 7,800 Degrees Fahrenheit, but it failed to sell as well as hoped. Enter Desmond Child as a songwriting collaborator, and after some time in Canada, they released Slippery When Wet. And that's when everything exploded. Slippery When Wet became a global sensation, selling over 28 million copies worldwide. It featured hits like Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name, and Wanted Dead or Alive. Bon Jovi followed up with the equally successful New Jersey in 1988, spawning hits such as Bad Medicine, Born to Be My Baby, and I'll Be There For You. The band took a hiatus around 1990, after 16 months of intensive touring had left them physically and emotionally exhausted, and tensions between the band members were running high. Jon Bon Jovi was also disillusioned with the music business, so he took on the management responsibilities himself. But by 1992, they were back with Keep the Faith, and a second era of Bon Jovi was launched. In 1994, Alec John Such left the band and was replaced by Hugh McDonald. Soon after, they released These Days, and again toured extensively. Again, they would take a break, this time a self-imposed 2-year rest period, agreed to by all members of the band. But it would be 4 years before another album was released, and in 2000 the band released Crush, headed up by the massive smash, It's My Life. The noughties were busy for the band, with various releases including Bounce, This Left Feels Right, a reworking of their previous hits, 100 Million Fans Can't Be Wrong, a B-sides and rare tracks collection, Have a Nice Day, Lost Highway, and The Circle. The 2010s saw What About Now released, but also the departure of longtime guitarist and collaborator Richie Sambora. The album Burning Bridges was their last for Mercury Records, before the band returned with This House Is Not For Sale in 2018 and the album 2020. They have earned multiple Grammy nominations, won countless awards, and have been honoured with induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2009 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2018. And I haven't even touched on the side projects. As for now, here in 2023, there are rumours swirling about a possible return of Richie Sambora to the band, so definitely watch this space. Anyways, on to the track. To be honest, I had heaps of options when it came to choosing a song to present here. And I'm sure all of you out there could easily name a track that wasn't on their album, but should have been. But for today, we're heading back to 1992 and looking at a song that was a bonus track right here in Australia and over in Japan, but on all of the re-releases of Keep the Faith, was left off. And it's one of my all-time favourites from the band. The song? Starting All Over Again. Starting All Over Again was written in 1992 by Jon Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. It was produced by Bob Rock and recorded at Little Mountain Studios in Canada. It would appear as a bonus track on some early tour releases of Keep the Faith, along with another song called Save a Prayer. But for most releases of the album, it was left off. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, Starting All Over Again was left off Keep the Faith, criminally in their opinion, because John didn't think he could hit the high notes in concert. And while a different, but rawer version of the song would eventually be released on 100 Million Fans Can't Be Wrong, the fully realised version of the song would find its way onto the flip side of their smash hit, Bed of Roses, as well as some extended versions of their greatest hits album, Crossroads. Lyrically, the song finds John searching for the spark that set the band off when they first began.
I've been waiting, standing in the dark for hours, trying to find the faith and the power to get back home, yeah.
He also remembers what they went through as a group.
Do you remember? Remember the odds we were given? We had nothing and we thought that was living. Lord, it's been such a long, long road.
But there's a new sense of determination that's helping to relight the fire they had.
So here's to all friends who helped us get by. Here's to the dreamers, may their dreams never die. If we believe, we can keep all the good times alive.
And ultimately, he decides that it's worth doing all over again.
Tonight, we'll be starting all over again. And it feels like the first time I know I'll never feel this way again. Starting all over again.
Musically, it's an absolute banger. It begins with a simple enough guitar riff, but then powers into the second verse. The chorus has a youthful key change, and Jon Bon Jovi is absolutely at the top of his vocal game. There's a sense of passion, exuberance, and youthfulness that comes through on the delivery, and he's hitting some pretty high notes as well. The band is right on song, and it really feels like they're having the best time with the track. Richard delivers a fine solo, and the gang vocals by the band are joyous, and there's even cowbell in the mix. You can never have too much cowbell.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
This is Raise Your Fists and Belt It Out Loud stuff, an anthem to the believers and to the faithful. Definitely, it deserves a spot on Keep the Faith. Ultimate Classic Rock, in their impressive ranking of 364 Bon Jovi songs, puts Starting All Over Again at number 80. That means it's in the top 25% of their songs. But where to put it? And what would go? Keep the Faith had 6 singles released, including the title track, Bed of Roses, In These Arms, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, I Believe, and Dry County. That's almost the entire first side of the album. And to be honest, they probably are the strongest songs on the album. But looking over the other tracks, it's hard to know which to drop. So let's work backwards. Little Bit of Soul sees the band feeling relaxed and laid back and reminds me of the fun found in New Jersey's Love for Sale. While Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll is just great fun and has some awesome lyrics. I Want You is an underrated Bon Jovi ballad and has one hell of a vocal delivery. Just listen to the cry coming out of the last verse. Shivers. So that leaves If I Was Your Mother, Woman in Love, and Fear. Woman in Love has some cool arrangements going on, and though it doesn't quite hit, it's nice to hear the band show a little bit of musical flex. Fear is possibly one of Bon Jovi's hardest and most brutal songs, with a killer bass line and again vocals that are spat out with venom. The guttural ending of Fear is just pure anger. Finally, If I Was Your Mother finds the band tapping into a heavier place that hadn't been heard since their early years. Add to that the progressive nods and the string section of the first verse, and it's another sign that the band were reaching outside of their 80s musical palette.
Crap. What goes?
Now, I know people are going to disagree with me, and that's totally okay, but I think Woman in Love could have been replaced with Starting All Over Again. Starting All Over Again is a stronger song, and would have acted as an affirmation that Bon Jovi were back, and they were ready to commit again to making great rock music.
That's not to say Woman in Love is a bad song, but Starting All Over Again is better, and definitely deserves a place on Keep the Faith. Cue your comments below. Keep the Faith served as a new beginning for Bon Jovi, and also a light in the darkness of the grunge age. Listening back to the whole album in preparing this video, I fell in love with it all over again, and also found a new appreciation for some of their darker songs. I think it's best summed up by user reviewer Azapro911 on allmusic.com, and they say Bon Jovi weren't merely fitting in with the new decade, they were finding a way to make it fit them. So that's it from me for this time. Thanks for checking out the video, and remember, if you have an idea for a B-side or a rare track that I should check out, please let me know. A special shout out to all the people who have suggested tracks recently. Evil Kitty Music, Smith Chicks, Tim David, LeBlanc, Mickey Mouse, Trevor F. Johnson, Christian Free Dude, Negan is Will, and Dover Dude. My playlist is looking really interesting at the moment, and it's because of your great suggestions. But until next time, my name is Drew, and you've been watching Should Have Been on the Album. Cheers.
To start it all